when it comes to providing the extra spark, the extra cunning, the extra intelligence of getting one up over your opponent legally through clever footwork, that's where Castillejo has an upper hand above all the current wingers in JDT, including Arif Aiman. With their 11th successive Malaysian Super League titles secured, Johor Darul Takzim now turn their attention to the AFC Champions League elites. The Southern Tigers will take on Buriram United of Thailand in the first leg of the round of 16 knockout round next Tuesday. And they are not going to be content at where they are, having matched their previous best of reaching this stage of Asia's top club competition back in 2022. And they are underlying their intentions by announcing their latest signing, Spanish winger Samu Castillejo, who comes as a free agent at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium earlier this afternoon. And just in case anybody is wondering why the Southern Tigers are signing yet another Spanish player after they have signed 3 back in January, I think this needs a little explaining, because according to the AFC Champions League Elite Edition, from the match day 7 of the league stage, which is actually early this month when the league stage resumed after a couple of months recess, every participating club is actually allowed to sign, they are allowed to sign up to 5 replacement players 5 days before match day 7, in which Johor had done their part by having 3 new players announced in January this year. And now, they are now adding another player, in this case Castillejo, or Samu as he's better known, where ahead of the next deadline, which is also the final deadline before the start of the centralized quarterfinal, semi-final and final, which will be held in Saudi Arabia after 31st of March. And in this case, Johor want to show that they are keen to show that they are more than capable of matching up against Asia's best, given a very radical rule change where participating clubs in this competition, and also in ACL 2, where they are allowed to sign unlimited number of foreigners and play them as they wish in the Asian club competition starting from this season. So with that in mind, the Southern Tigers have made it clear that they want to strengthen their playing roster and depth by signing Castillejo, who previously had played for La Liga side Malaga, Villarreal and Valencia, and as well as in the Serie A with AC Milan and Sassuolo. And even though he has not played for the Spanish national team, he has actually featured in the Spanish youth teams, notably in the under 16, under 17 and under 21 levels, although he never featured for the junior La Rorias in any major European or world tournament in their respective age groups. So that said, still, I think signing such a player for Johor Darul Takzim is where Johor is actually utilizing their own unique transfer policy pretty well, because they have done a similar thing in the recent past when they signed Jesse Rodriguez, the former Real Madrid academy player who rose through the ranks to play for the first team at a precocious age, and was once dubbed as the next Ronaldo or the next Gareth Bale by leading Spanish football experts, but has since fallen off the radar before he was picked up by the Malaysian champions in 2024. And that came after Hesse spent 10 months without a club. Castillejo is more fortunate. He left Valencia after he and his former club, his last club, could not agree to a mutual termination of his contract following his return on a rather modest loan spell at Sassuolo in the 2023-24 season. And this has seen the former Spanish youth winger with clubless for at least 6 months before he joined the Southern Tigers at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. And to have yet another player who has extensive European pedigree, although not as famous as your more illustrious national team players, which I mean Johor do not really have any former Spanish national team players since, if I recall correctly, since Dani Guiza joined the club on loan in 2013 when he came with a huge reputation as a Euro 2008 champion. And he did pretty well considering that brief loan spell he had where he scored 8 goals in 13 matches, even though the Southern Tigers fell short of achieving major honours in Tunku Ismail Ibrahim's first full season in charge of the club. But still, that paved the way, just a throwback, where they had another brand name to bolster Johor Darul Takzim's global reputation the next year when they got Pablo Aimar. And even though they have not gotten a player of such stature since, what is clear this season is Johor are actually building a very competitive squad to compete with Asia's best, with extensive recruiting, with extensive search for talent. And as you can see in Johor's campaign in the league stage, they more than match most of their opponents, where they actually defeated 2 Korean clubs at home and achieved their first away win of this edition when they defeated Central Coast Mariners 2-1, and they comfortably finished 4th, although later retrospectively pushed up to 3rd following a bizarre withdrawal by Shandong Taishan over their refusal to play against already eliminated Ulsan Hyundai in the last match day, owing to speculation, perhaps a political order that prevented Shandong from taking on the field at all, even though they said claim, and I think it's visible that it's not really true that Shandong players fell ill, because all of them came back without having any signs of illness. So, but that aside, we have already seen in the Southern Tigers AFC Champions League Elites campaign where most of these players, they are all imports. Lasho Insa is Malaysian, but he was born in Spain, and around him, where you got many foreigners due to the new regulations where you can field unlimited number of foreigners, and in there you have previous regulars in Shane Lowry, I think even Oscar Ariabas, if I'm not wrong. But this season you see the likes of Juan Muniz, I think, sorry, maybe I just go back a little bit. I think the previous season where Johor had already had a number of foreigners who are well established in the first team squad, like Oscar Ariabas, Bergson, Herberty, who came as a mid-season transfer last season, and then you also have Shane Lowry, who was an established centre-back, an Australian, and I think 1 or 2 others along with Arif Aiman. But this season has seen a very transformational squad that has more than uplifted Johor's usual competitive levels in Asia, where you have goalkeeper, where you have a top first choice goalkeeper who only plays in the Champions League Elite, Adonis Zubair, and then you have Hesse, who was signed last year, ahead of the new season. Then you also have Korean defender Park Jun-hyung. Then in January you had the trio of Roque Mesa, Alvaro Gonzalez, and Jonathan Vieira, and now you have Samu Castillejo. And what does Samu bring to the table where this is concerned? I think based on what I've watched from YouTube clips and also other clips of him in action, particularly from his days in AC Milan and also glimpses of it in Valencia, you can say that Castillejo brings some pace with very elegant ball skills. Those type of ball skills and trickery that you can say is a bit reminiscent of what we will probably had seen with Neymar at his peak. The type of I wouldn't say showboating, but the type of athletic skills that will bring crowds to their feet when executed right. And he's capable of playing on either wing, on the left and on the right, although from my observation from his career through those highlights, he tends to play more on the right, which could be an awkward situation if we are to insert him in the starting lineup straight away. Although from past practice, I do not think Castillejo will be that ready to be launched straight into starting 11 given the massive shortage of his match fitness. The same way that Jesse Rodriguez had to spend some time recovering for a year. I think you can say a year to get back to some kind of peak physical condition before he began scoring again, particularly with, I think it began with that 5-2 thrashing of Pohang Steelers, where he showed that when you give him more at this level, he's more than capable of finishing against Asia's best, or rather the best that East Asia outside of Japan has to offer. Because Johor, because of the unusual way of where they only played 8 games, 4 home, 4 away, they totally avoided Japanese opponents even now also. So they have shown, Rodriguez has shown that you give him the ball inside the box, he's more than capable of making opponents pay in Asia. You don't give him that much space. And unfortunately, the Malaysian defense aren't adapting that well yet. So, but that's a different story. Then what about Castillejo in this case? Samu, I think, which I will say from now on. Well, unlike Hesse, who came in a little out of shape, Samu has kept himself in good shape, in good condition. So, being in good physical condition, it's at least a positive start. The only barrier will be the lack of match fitness, and having just come to Southeast Asia with the tropical climate and not being registered for the Super League. I think that's a little bit of you can say a little unfortunate, but that's how life is in JDT, because sometimes they are registered for the specific purpose of playing in the ACLE. And given the quality that Samu has shown against tougher defenders in Serie A and La Liga, where his nifty footwork has more than once, you can say several times, caught opposing fullbacks, opposing defenders wrong-footed, off guard. If you look at the highlight reels, you can see that he's capable of the unpredictable. He's capable of making the twist, making that sprint, making that decisive move that causes the greater impetus to push into the final third, to penetrate into the box, where he sets up for dangerous positions either by delivering the crosses either low or high, or even positioning himself at the far end to receive his teammates' cross inside the box. His movement, his intelligence in the final third, his ball skills, they are something you can say is an upgrade from what Johor has shown. I mean, no disrespect to Juan Muniz or Oscar Ariabas for what they have done so far this season. They have been good. they have been, you can say they have been excellent. Castillejo at his peak is above them, and his playing experience is comparable to Jesse Rodriguez, or slightly lower than Jesse in terms of the level of exposure and the quality of the competition played, but still is higher than what the majority of the foreign players who are in JDT's first team books have experienced. So he brings that little edge into the game where he can add the additional spark, where he can provide that little difference, where he can possibly, he has that ability to definitely outshine the majority of the fullbacks, the majority of the defenses at this level, at the highest level in Asian club competition. And that is why JDT has specifically signed him, to build up the depth. I mean, what if Juan Muniz is pushed into an attacking midfield role, and if Jonathan Vieira is injured, or what if Arif Aiman, touchwood, is unavailable through suspension or injury? These are various things. It's like you may put Herberty there. Herberty is very hardworking. He covers every blade of the grass when he comes on. His running, his determination is there. But when it comes to providing the extra spark, the extra cunning, the extra intelligence of getting one up over your opponent legally through clever footwork, that's where Castillejo has an upper hand above all the current wingers in JDT, including Arif Aiman. Although I'm not going to foresee Arif Aiman being dislodged from the starting 11, given how well he has done so far as the only local-born Malaysian in the Southern Tigers starting 11 in Asia's top club competition. So I think if there's a rejig needed, you probably involve Juan Muniz or Jonathan Vieira to compromise by either settling into either a central midfield, or in Juan Muniz's case, attacking midfield with Samu playing on the left. Because you can't possibly ask Arif Aiman to step aside and let Samu play on his in his usual role on the right. But again, things can change if TMJ decides that he wants the best team to win the competition, his best 11 to win. Then it is highly possible that Johor could have an all-foreigner lineup when it comes to the quarterfinal stage, should they advance to the centralized knockout finale in Saudi Arabia. But still, I think the need to have at least one local-born Malaysian to show that he has deservedly fought for his place in that starting 11, and to compete and attract the eyeballs throughout Asia as what Arif Aiman has done. I think it's quite likely that Castillejo or Samu will actually start on the left when he's more than match ready. But right now he's not, so he's still assimilating, so I don't expect him to be plug ready to action to take on the defenders of Buriram on Tuesday. But it represents a significant upgrade and a very shrewd transfer dealing, where you can say you plug the so-called unwanted goods from Europe, but their playing experience in the big 5 European leagues and also playing in European competition, it surpasses all majority of the players who are competing in the ACL elites. And what more can you ask for in terms of the pedigree, in terms of the experience, in terms of the know-how, where admittedly it will be a lot easier taking on your Asian defenders rather than those who play the Champions League or Europa League. It will be a lot easier. I mean, no disrespect to the other Asian-born fullbacks or defenders, but when done right, I think Hesse and Samu will cause more problems, more headaches, and not even all the best tactical preparations unless you are Al Hilal, probably, but the Saudi Arabians will also be no match for these two individually. and it signals Johor's intention to build a more than creditable squad, a more than competitive. You can say they want to really challenge to at least break into the quarters, push to the semis, and perhaps even reach the final if they can really push all the way. I know Johor fans are very expectant. They want the Southern Tigers to go as far as possible. Beating Buriram is probably now the minimum expectation that the Southern Tigers fans are hoping right now, and they want to look beyond that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Johor, with these two, once they are more than match ready, Jesse is ready. He has proven that he's ready. All the rest have been involved in the Champions League. They have shown that they are more than ready. Who knows? Perhaps the Samu on the left, Hesse in the centre forward role, or in whatever formation Hector Bidoglio has in mind, they could be the main contributors to, perhaps, I'm saying really perhaps, when should the Southern Tigers go to Saudi Arabia for the final rounds of the competition, maybe make world headlines by stunning Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr. I mean, to use that type of squad to stun Al Nassr, that will make world football news. And who knows, when that has been achieved, you can say that Johor is one of the smartest transfer dealing clubs in the whole Asia. And yes, this I will actually even include the Middle East, but possibly take away Japan, but one of the smartest transfer dealing clubs, where they can revive the careers of what could have been expired has-beens who have once achieved a good level in the elite European game but have now fallen off the rails a little. And what Johor has been doing with Hesse, you never know. Samu could surpass Hesse in terms of the recovery and the return to his very best, as what he has shown particularly at Villarreal and AC Milan. And if Johor succeed in getting this done, I will say this: never mind the Malaysian Super League. Every club in Asia, and I don't mean East Asia, even West Asia, will have plenty to fear when Johor continue to pull off such transfer dealings and show that they are more than a match when it comes to competing with the big boys and playing it really smart by getting these players back to their best, to recover back the form they have lost. And before I wrap, I think in the case of Hesse and now Samu joining Johor Darul Takzim, I mean they are in their early 30s, and Neymar, the Brazilian footballer, is at a similar age, and Neymar has gone back to Santos in Brazil, having failed to make an impact in Saudi Arabia. But what I'm going to illustrate a little here is players taking such unexpected journeys to return to the top, or to at least recover of what they used to have after a rather turbulent journey in their careers, as what Hesse and Samu have experienced. And in Hesse's case, Hesse has rehabilitated well and is beginning to show signs that he's more than capable of locking in goals. It's not just the regular basis in which he's going to score goals, but the impact that Hesse is going to make, particularly in Asia, and eventually it will be the case with Samu by the time the quarterfinals come around, should Johor reach this far. And who knows, when you have Hesse on song and even Samu on song, even not at 100%, but perhaps 60-70% of their peak powers, of their powers, it will be more than terrifying for even your Al Hilals, Al Nassrs, and Al Alis, and your Japanese clubs, Vissel Kobe, Yokohama F Marinos, and Kawasaki Frontale. It will be more than threat. And that's why, and when this pulls off, Johor will be seen as the role model in getting very smart transfers in you can say, apart from having done the hard part in getting good players who have played in Europe, who have played in the tough European leagues in the leading European nations, to showcase their talent in this part of the world to Asia. But now it's about going one step further, getting the so-called discards, and recruiting rather smartly. It's not just about big names anymore. It's about establishing themselves to be more than competitive in Asia, to show that they are one of the contenders to be reckoned with, and Johor Darul Takzim to a club to be remembered, a name, a club that will be, that other major clubs in Asia will be afraid of, as long as this policy continues to exist, and as long as this transfer approach continues to reap the fruits as we have seen in Hesse, and hopefully with Samu. And with that, I do wish Johor Darul Takzim the best in the round 16 clash against Buriram on Tuesday.